What up? This is Yinka Diz.
Peace, this is Outlaw.
And you're listening to the 80s Babies podcast.
And on today's episode, we have a tribute for the sophomore album of Missy Elliott, The Real World, released June 22nd, 1999. And this is our first album to one of the hip-hop queens, hip-hop royalty, Missy Elliott. Yeah. And I'm curious, though, why this is the one that this is the album from her, like, I guess, original trilogy that really sticks with you, right?
Yeah.
Why this one over Super Duper Fly and Miss E So Addictive?
Good question. I picked this one because I bought it. This is the only Missy album that I actually went to the store when it came out and I bought it. I should have bought Super Duper Fly.
Okay.
But I did not.
Got you.
And yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's so many things that I have to say about this album.
Oh, good.
Maybe more so than the last one.
No, it's cool because I didn't buy any Missy album, though this was the one that I almost bought.
Yeah.
Because there's a song on here that is one of probably my favorite Missy Elliott song ever, which is
She's
on here. Yeah, that's that one.
So fire, bro.
And
so fire.
I almost bought this album, but I think the thing for me, and we'll just get right into the Where Were You, was at this time, like, at this time, you once mentioned how, like, what the criteria it was for you to buy, like, an album from an artist, especially if you didn't really know them, right?
Yep.
They have like a certain amount of singles that you like, maybe like a video or something that you liked, right? And like at this time in 1999 I'm like full on Wu-Tang. So the albums, and I'm full on like trying to MC. So the albums that I'm really investing in are like hip hop classics.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay, Blaze Magazine tells me that Nas is like the 10th greatest rapper of all time. And people tell me that Illmatic is the illest shit ever.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to buy Illmatic. I'm going to buy It Was Written.
Right.
I'm going to buy I Am when it comes out.
Right.
Like, you're telling me that Jay-Z is great. Okay, cool. I'm going to go back and listen to Volume 1.
Right.
I'm going to go back and listen to Reasonable Doubt. I'm going to go back and listen to Eric B. and Rakim, Fuji Rap, right? Or so that was one thing I was doing. Or like somebody had to put me on to something and I had to like it despite the radio play. So a good example of this would have been something like Common, One Day Would All Make Sense, or like Things Fall Apart. And these are things that my brother is putting me onto, right?
Right.
The only album that I don't think my brother bought a Missy Elliott album, but the only like Timbaland Universe album that he bought was the Timbaland and Magoo, This Is Our World, right?
That shit was fire.
And was it?
Yeah.
You like that album?
Like production wise?
I guess.
Okay, so let me, spoiler alert, Magoo is the worst rapper of all time. Like, literally I can only think of two people that are comparably bad to Magoo.
Okay.
Silk the Shocker and Bizarre from D12.
Oh yeah.
Those are the only two rappers that I think are in his class of terribleness.
Chief Keef.
So I think he's better than them. So you know, I'm not saying that what is it? Indecent Proposal or something, whatever the first
one was
In Our World.
The first one is In Our World.
Yeah. That one. That album though, like, that was a game changer.
So the thing for me, the reason why I don't think highly of that album is because my brother used to listen to that album a lot. I was in the car listening to that album a lot.
Yeah.
I went back to go listen to that album in this run.
Okay.
And with the exception of the songs that I specifically knew from back in the day, I don't remember anything. Right? Like, with the exception of like the singles and the stuff.
But there was like 3 big singles on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember. My brother used to listen to the entire album, and I only remembered the singles.
Yeah.
Like I didn't remember anything. I was like, really?
But like, do you listen to Timbaland for anything more than singles?
But I didn't even remember the beats. Like I just didn't remember anything about it.
Okay.
And so I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not trying to hate on the album. I'm just saying, like, I just wasn't like impressed with that. Right.
Got it.
And so I didn't get to these albums until like later in life, maybe even like after college. Like I think like Spotify came around, and that's when I went back to go listen to Super Duper Fly, this album, and So Addictive.
Yeah.
And this album, even though I like them all, I think is the one I like the least from those 3.
Really?
I'll get to why. First of all, I think that this album for me is like a solid. It's not an A. It's a solid B+ for me.
Yeah.
So if it's a tribute for you, that's cool. It's a solid B+. If I can make it a classic, I would. We don't need to.
You can at the end.
But this is an album that I enjoyed. But like it's not the one that I would have picked to. It's not the one I thought that we would have done. I thought we would have done Super Duper Fly. But it makes sense if neither one of us really digested that album when it came out. It makes sense that we're doing this one. So this is the one that you bought
for sure.
So let's get into where were you specifically? Like, what was your mind space like when you got this album, when you listened to this album? Where were you?
Yeah. So I'm in Virginia. I think this is around that time when like I maybe fairly recently came to Virginia. Okay. And the reason I say that is because in looking it up, the Slim Shady LP came out in February of this year. Yeah, this album comes out in June.
Yeah.
So I remember the Slim Shady LP was the biggest shit ever around the time that I got there. So I would have moved to Virginia in December that over that Christmas break.
Okay.
Of 98.
Gotcha.
So then this is June of 99. So I'm still kind of a new-ish kid. And I remember this is a funny memory, but I kind of had a love-hate relationship with the Missy thing. Reason being, I'll never forget my parents coming home in November of 98. I'm in high school. I'm loving my life. I'm a 9th grader. Everything was wonderful. And my parents say, "We're moving to Virginia. Pack all your shit." And just being like, oh Virginia. Man, like really, like distraught about it. And I remember coming back to the schoolyard or whatever with the homies and being like, yeah, yo, my parents say I'm moving. Like, oh yeah, where you moving to? Virginia. They're like, nigga, who you gonna rap with? Missy? Huh? You gonna rap with Timbaland? Who you gonna rap with? So like that was like I got roasted for like, and I was sad. Like I was actually sad.
Missy was dope though.
So, but she didn't get that type of respect in the circles because you have to realize in Cali,
she's not a bar spitter.
Right. Yeah. In Cali, we're either backpack or we're gangster rap.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Missy and Timbaland and Magoo were an interesting trio because their sound was so different that you had to respect it. But at the same time, like my homies still, they were rapping about silly things. So like people didn't really take them seriously as rappers. Yeah. They just liked their music.
Yeah.
So that's like the main thing I remember about Missy. So when I came and I'm here, I'm still gangster rap and my backpack is on. I'm a ruckus nerd. I'm
Sound Bombing came out.
Yeah, Sound Bombing came out that year. Like that, like that's the type of stuff that I like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Missy is making you respect her. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing She's a Bitch and just being like, what? WTF. The next single was Hot Boyz remix, and it had Nas on it. You know what I'm saying?
Wasn't there a remix with Q-Tip on it as well?
I think it's all the same joint. Nas, Q-Tip, and Eve were on the remix of Hot Boyz, and there was a video for it. You know what I'm saying? So like, this is mind-blowing stuff. Eminem is quickly becoming one of my favorite lyricists. Yeah. Redman is one of my favorite lyricists. There are names on here. Da Brat, I love Da Brat. Yeah. She was my favorite female MC at the time. So like these are people that I love and I see them on here. You said what?
Over Lauren, interesting.
99?
I mean, Fuji's score was 96.
Yeah.
Lauren bodied that shit.
I think by 99, we kind of was like, okay, is Lauren gonna come back? Or?
Oh, well, no, well, she did Miseducation in 98.
Yeah, like June 9th or something, right?
It was August. It was August something.
So maybe I don't know. She might have been, but I'm saying like Da Brat's from Chicago, so she's always been one of my favorite female MCs. So she dropped. But yeah. So I mean, like all of the features were the right features. If you remember, The Matrix had come out. And the movie had completely changed the game. Everybody's talking about The Matrix. So the fact that she took this like Matrix-like approach where it's like, oh, this is the future. This is the year 3000. I'm doing all this extra shit. The video was super futuristic. I loved.
That might be one of my favorite Hype Williams videos.
It was one of the most expensive videos.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the She's a Bitch video over Jake Pimpin' for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but yeah, so I mean,
I'm talking about Hype Williams Productions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That is one of my favorite Hype Williams videos.
It's great, and so I think all of the kind of stars aligned here to where even though the homies were gonna clown, I still bought this Missy because I was like, this sounds like nothing I've ever heard before.
Yeah, true.
And so I got to hear where she's going with it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, how about you? Where were you?
So this would be the summer of '99, and like I said, I almost thought about buying this album, but my thought on it was this. My thought on it was I like Missy. I even like Missy in the Super Duper Fly area. Like I love the rain, right? Is she on Up Jumps the Boogie?
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
like
the best, and that's
yes,
B, and that's
yes.
Capital. I hang low like this. She killed that shit.
Yes, like
Yeah.
I loved Missy, but at the same time too, the things I was going to hip hop for, I wasn't going to Missy for.
Okay.
Because I had a hunch that I was like, there's nothing that the album is going to provide that I can't get from the hits.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I thought about it. And so because of that, I was like, well, my money is going to be better spent going towards, I don't know, whatever backpacker hip hop Wu-Tang album.
You were like,
Killer
this
Bees
You
the
God
Swarm,
album is
whatever.
way more important than this Missy.
I think in 1999, it was probably like Killer Bees the Swarm or something like that. Okay. You know what I mean? It was maybe, who knows what it was. But like, that's kind of like where my money was going towards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I just didn't buy this, and I didn't get into this album. Well, I didn't even really get into this album when I did hear it.
Okay.
Because we'll kind of get into it, but yeah, that's just, I don't know. In 1999, that's just kind of where I was.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, should we do critical reception?
Yeah.
What was it? So I think that this album probably has like around like a 4 out of 5, maybe 3.5 out of 5. Some are 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah. So I see All Music gives it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Entertainment Weekly gives it an A-. Guardian 4 out of 5. Los Angeles Times 4.5. Music, which I don't know that magazine, is a 5 out of 5.
Okay.
Enemy is a 7 out of 10. So I mean,
okay, so these are favorable reviews.
Solid,
these are good reviews.
favorable reviews. Yeah.
I think the one quote from the wiki that I think it was from Entertainment Weekly, they said the real world marks steps in several right directions, both for rap and for understanding the never-ending battle of the sexes, which is a theme on here
for sure,
which is addressed kind of all over the place if you think about it.
Yeah, say more.
It's well, all right. Look, I'm going to say more, but I need a caveat that I'm going to come off sounding really fucking
He about to
ignorant.
mansplain the shit out of this
It's not
joint.
even that. It's not even that. I'm not mansplaining shit.
Right.
But I am going to sound ignorant, and I get that. So if you're like, yo, this dude is acting a damn fool, fine, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's confusing. It just makes me think about a whole bunch of things, and I'm like, it's just weird because she's a lesbian, right?
I don't think so.
She's not.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I thought she was.
Not that I know of.
Oh, well then never mind then. Okay. All right. Well, I think some of the confusing things though about it though was that, and we'll get, and it addresses some of my lowlights on here, which is that it seems like there's like kind of a battle of the sexist things, but then there's also like a battle of the women things, right?
Okay.
And I think that there's aspects of this album that haven't necessarily aged well. And you've talked about it as well when you talk about like Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B versus Remy Ma, whatever,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
How you were saying that like it's like a carryover from like the 90s legacy where there can only be one strong female in the game.
Highlander,
right?
theory.
Yeah, the Highlander. Thank you.
Yep.
And it's just like Lil Kim's contribution to this album, I don't think is aged well at all. And so there's aspects of it that are like that.
Okay, I agree
but
with
then
that.
it's also like then you have, but then it's compounded by the You Don't Know, which has a strong appearance from Lil Mo. But that's interesting because that's a song that really was kind of unnecessary because you had The Boy Is Mine with Monica and Brandy, which did it better come out the year before. And then you also have songs where it's like back to back. Was it Stickin' Chickens, which is a song I love. And then like 2 songs later, it's We Did It. It's kind of like these songs are kind of talking the same thing. It's just kind of like all over the place. I'm getting a lot of different competing energies.
Yeah.
You had the Brat who, if I am not mistaken, is she not? She is.
Yes.
And yet she's still talking about dicks and this, that, and the other.
But I think she's bi though. Because she
is that
famously dated Allen Iverson.
That is right. That's right. And so there's all this energy that, like, and mind you, I'm hearing this as a grown man. I did not hear this album when it came out.
Yeah.
Right. So at least not those aspects of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing it now, and it's just like,
okay.
I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm not saying that it wasn't good, that it wasn't executed well. I'm just saying, for me, it sounds like it's all over the place.
Okay.
And I sometimes had a hard time keeping up exactly if there was a thesis, and it doesn't need to be a thesis.
Yeah.
Which is a highlight for me, actually, that the fact that there probably isn't one.
Yeah.
Because we often talk about, like, oh, something has to be consistent, and it's like
Right.
it doesn't necessarily.
We
have
listen to
be.
DMX albums where the niggas killing people, raping people, and then on the next joint he's telling us about how he loves God.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah. So just nevertheless, though, there's just like a lot of that is kind of all over the place for me, and it's a bit distracting because you also can't help but to think about it because it's in your face, but it's weird.
Got it.
So what other things stood out from you from the critical reception, if anything?
Nothing specific. I think one of the things that you said is true, that when people talk about Missy's albums, Super Duper Fly is the one that gets mentioned.
I think rightfully so.
Because of the fact that this is, like you said, in that trilogy, you have Super Duper Fly, and that has The Rain on it.
Yeah.
That's probably her biggest, most iconic video and everything, right?
Yeah.
And then Get Your Freak On is on Missy So Addictive. So it's like you have like the two biggest records of this person's career on the other two albums.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why this one probably doesn't get spoken about as much. And so even like the wiki is kind of short. Like there's not a whole lot here about it, probably because of that.
So my theory, though, while I think that's valid, it is valid. Because you're not wrong at all. Like the half of So Addictive were hits. Half of that record. Yeah. Like even songs that probably weren't meant to be hits ended up becoming like sleeper hits. Right. Like I think there's a song with Genuine on So Addictive that like it's kind of like a sleeper hit, right? Okay. So this album has 3 hits on it. It's You're All in My Grill, it's She's a Bitch, and it's the Hot Boyz and Hot Boyz remix. Is there another one? I think that's those 3.
No, I think that's it.
The Super Duper Fly has The Rain, it has Soccer to Me, it has the Beat Me 911. Is there another one on there? I forget.
Those are the only 3 I remember off the top of my head.
The reason why I think that this album is weaker than those 2 is because I think, and this is unfair, but just as an exercise, I think that if you took all of those albums and you took out like the staple hits, this is the one that would be the weakest. Whereas like there's songs on Super Duper, like I Hit Him With The He. That song
that was a single too.
That was a single?
Yeah, that was a single too.
I don't remember that.
I Hit Him With The He because she was like flying in the video. She was like flying, I remember?
Right. Yeah. Well, nevertheless, I was still listening to that album and I was like, if I took out the singles, this is a more enjoyable album to me than this one.
Okay, that's fair.
Right. So, but nevertheless, but you're still right though, because what So Addictive did was, the reason why I call it like the original trilogy is because you could argue that So Addictive was the one that sparked her like real pop mainstream run. The next 3 albums that she came out with were all kind of like children of So Addictive. But nevertheless, like in the growth of an artist, Super Duper Fly, The Real World, I think So Addictive. I think that's fair to call that like her initial trilogy.
And I mean, even when she talks about this album, right? Like she talks about one being very depressed because she was afraid of the sophomore slump. And so she was really afraid to put this album out, and it got delayed because of that, etc. Columbine had happened, and so that kind of had impacted.
This is a dark album,
right?
It's very dark.
And
album.
so what labels wanted to put out as art, and and how like even the records she has with Eminem, they talk about shooting shit up and all kind of stuff.
That's just
right?
hilarious, though. I love that song.
It really is. And then additionally, this album doesn't sound like anything else that was out at the time. Yeah. And so what I was gonna say was like hip hop had kind of started to move into different factions that we talk about. So it's like kind of us backpacker hip hop fans, and then what BG and the Hot Boyz and all them niggas were doing in the South. Master P still going because this is 99. I think MP The Last Don comes out in 99. So he's still popular, and so those are kind of 2 different kind of factions of what popular hip hop looks like. And like I feel like Missy and Timbaland decidedly went in a completely different direction from those. And that's what I think is laudable here, because I think when they first came out, they came out with a curveball, but it was their sound. Yeah. So, Aaliyah, Genuine, Timbaland, Missy, like they had their own thing. Yeah. And then, when this comes out, I don't know that it was so much a part of that canon. I feel like Missy just did a thing. And then, the Missy So Addictive and everything, like you said, is like a whole nother chapter of their movement.
Yeah, well, the thing about this album that's just different from Super Duper Fly and from the other projects, if we'll call them in the Timbo verse, if you will, is that Missy Elliott shares a co-producer credit on this album,
Yes.
right? So even though all the beats are Timbaland, like Missy is in there talking, programming, helping
For sure.
to do whatever she wants with the direction of this album, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think before, Timbaland was one of those like, you know, it feels to me like the person that I would put him in like the conversation with would be someone like a RZA
Okay.
or like a Jay Dilla or a Will I Am and himself, like, or even like a Pharrell, right? Neptunes, right? Whereas it's like, okay, I'm going to produce all these albums and I'm going to have different personalities and come on and do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I thought specifically about Jay Dilla and Will I Am is that like we did an album about Black Eyed Peas,
Yeah.
right? Behind the front, and you weren't a big fan of that,
Yeah.
And the album that Panama and I were comparing it to was the Slum Village volume.
Fantastic,
right? And so you thought that Black Eyed Peas sounded trash, and I thought, for lack of a better term, right, just for simplistic, you thought the Black Eyed Peas sounded trash, and then I thought the Slum Village sounded trash. But like there was something about the vibe that you could just get with,
right?
And I think that Timbaland is kind of like in his universe is kind of the same,
Yeah.
at least from the MC's perspective,
Right?
Because Timbaland doesn't sound good, right? Magoo doesn't sound good, but Missy does, and so I think that he's got all this music, and the one talent that really stands out from a vocal perspective is Missy.
Yeah.
And so now you have her creative brain coming into the fray.
Yeah.
This like, okay, all those silly things that is kind of like, well, I'm an MC and I'm dope, but I'm not really a bar spitter, but it works.
Right.
We're going to really lean into that in ways that, in some ways it was effective, in some ways I didn't necessarily enjoy.
Okay.
But I will say it was all effective in terms of creating that own unique sound. And then of course we see like the creative mind who Missy Elliott ultimately becomes in all of her videos, because she's the best video maker. Aside her and Busta Rhymes,
and it's not nobody else.
It really
is
isn't close.
Yeah.
It really isn't close, right? But like the music, like there's like a marriage between the two.
Yeah, and something that you said that I want to comment on. We can't underrate or discount her contribution to the production as well.
Yeah,
because I think after Super Duper Fly, I think pretty much everything after that, they literally were producing side by side. Like she's touching buttons or telling him what to touch.
Yeah.
And so, I think that I always just thought growing up, even owning this album and having the credits and flipping through them, that it was just Timbaland making the beats, and him and Missy are so cool that she just gets a producer credit.
Yeah.
But then when, So Gone by Monica comes out, and some of these big Turn the Lights Off by Tweet, some of these great, amazing R&B records that are produced by Missy, not Missy and Timbaland, Missy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, no. Missy has her own production and creative brain. And so like we see that here, like they're producing side by side on this album.
Yeah. Should we get into the highlights and lowlights?
Let's do it.
So let's start off with the lowlights, because I want to end on a positive note. I said before about like some things that didn't age well, and I think that like Lil Kim's contributions don't necessarily age well.
I agree.
But I think more specifically that there's some songs in here that kind of sound like there's some songs in here that kind of sound the same, too similar for me. They kind of have the same vibe. And not only that, they're sequenced too close together.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like, it's hard for me to really get into a good flow and a good groove at this album. And that's kind of it. So, there's a bunch of songs, and when we get through the track for track analysis, and I'll say which ones are kind of give me too much of that same vibe.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, I think that sometimes, while there's some people that outshine Missy on here that I wasn't expecting her to get outshined by.
Okay.
If that makes sense. There's one in particular that's kind of like, that's surprising.
Okay.
But that's gonna be real surprising when it comes to it. But those are kind of like my only overarching lowlights.
Word. I said if I had to have lowlights, Lil Kim as a narrator.
Okay.
I said I know.
So you and I agree on that.
Yeah. I said I know that Lil Kim is the queen bee, but I didn't completely understand why the through line had to be like her cussing people out.
She sounded drunk,
and I would have preferred to hear her rap on the album than just like talking. My second is I wish Hot Boyz remix was on this album.
Yeah.
I said the song is so big and star-studded that I can't listen to the version without Nas and Q-Tip and Eve and all of them. Like I can't even listen to it. So
that's interesting. I don't have a problem with either version. I'm good with both versions.
Yeah, this one's all right, but I the version that I know, and maybe it's because I was DJing at this time, and we immediately picked up the version with Nas and had Nas's verse going every time. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So overarching highlights. Why don't you start it off with?
Sure. And I've got lots.
There are lots of highlights.
So I said the biggest highlight is the chemistry between Timbaland and Missy.
Yeah.
I said they're a real Jordan and Pippen style combo, and there's so much trust and synergy between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
My second highlight is risk.
Okay.
I said there's a lot of artistic risk taken here, from song structure to production style and even some of the feature choices. And then I'll go to the features, right? I said the features are star-studded, but yet not overcrowded.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but Missy doesn't duck any fights.
Yeah.
With the exception of like a Cannabis or a Twista, she pretty much has all the lyricists that everybody was afraid to rap next to on her project. And she goes toe-to-toe with them, and she doesn't entirely get outclassed. And I said she also features artists from everywhere in the United States except for the West Coast. And she even has an artist from Jamaica. The production is excellent, and it doesn't sound like anything else that was out at the time.
Yeah.
My fifth, I've got two more.
Go ahead.
My fifth is Ladies First.
Okay.
I said, back to the features, Missy always seemed to have no problem putting other female talents around her, and this project is no different. And I said, this features Nicole Ray, who she's already introduced us to.
Yeah.
It introduces us to Little Mo, who had kind of already been on a Nicole Ray project, but this is her first Missy big, type of situation. It gives us Lil Kim as a faux narrator, which is whatever. It features a young superstar in Aaliyah, the Brat from Chi-Town, dance hall pioneer Lady Saw, and a young Beyonce pre-writings on the wall, which hadn't even come out yet. It comes out the next month, so that's huge.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I said timbre. I said, Missy weaves in and out between rapping and singing so seamlessly that you often forget or can't distinguish the genre on some of the songs here.
That's true.
Those are mine.
Those are good. I mean, and I wanted you to go first because you pretty much hit on everything I was gonna hit on. I mean, obviously I have Timbaland as a highlight.
Yeah.
But I had features and the fact that like she really lets the feature shine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Eminem has 2.5 verses on here.
I know.
Redman's got 2 verses, right?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Yep.
Variance in the song structures.
Yes.
Was something that you had mentioned, but that to me is you're always gonna get points with me if you can have a song that like just switches it up.
Especially in a time frame where all the songs were 3 verses, 3 hooks.
Yeah. So and that's it. I was gonna say that like I wasn't sure how to articulate it because I do think that this album is kind of dark. But nevertheless, like there's also still kind of like I don't want to say like a fun quality about it, but there is still kind of like a light,
like a bounce to it.
Yeah, but it's like it's dark, but it's also like not. It doesn't feel like it's taking itself too seriously.
Yeah. Missy has like a silly, like almost kiddish quality to some of her lyrics, just in general.
Yeah, which to me like it works because in the last episode we talked about Fabulous, where it's just like okay, you could have leaned into that and given us something instead. I can't take you seriously at all.
Right.
Where it's like, no, this is like your intention. And so it's like, this is the type of album that's like paving the way for someone like Ludacris to do Back for the First Time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And who's one of the key producers on that album? Timbaland. Right?
That makes sense.
So those are my overarching highlights. So let's get into this track for track analysis, right?
All right.
Do we need to mention anything with Mysterious intro?
No.
No?
I mean, I don't really have anything to say about it.
All right. Beat Biters.
Fine. I don't really have much to say about that either.
This is one of my lowlights, and I think that in the context of this album, like I said, there's like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 songs that all kind of had like the same kind of like feel to me.
Do you mean by production wise, or
production wise, and like the like her delivery and everything like that, and like the pacing of them? It just all kind of feel like, this kind of feels like that. This kind of feels like this song.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I heard this before.
Yeah.
And I think the worst of all of them is Beat Biters.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fair. I feel like it's unnecessary, but the one thing that I do like is it kind of calls to, you're a beat biter, dope style taker, right? Like she's calling to he's the DJ, I'm the MC type of deal, which I kind of like she's taking up for Timbaland. But I agree, like the song is kind of unnecessary, which is why I don't have much to say about it.
The other thing too is that I don't like how there's like a filter she uses on her voice at part of it, like when she's screaming. And I kind of wish that like maybe this is because I just love Get Your Freak On so much, because on that she just shouts. Yeah, she just shouts, and that would have sounded much better on a song. But maybe like Beat Biters wasn't supposed to be all like a hype track, but I don't know. There's something about it. It just
I don't love this song at all.
I didn't. Yeah, it's a low light for me.
Okay, I don't have any lowlights, but it's such a light that I don't even have anything to say about it.
I have 4 lowlights. That is one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
But the other 2 are obvious because Lil Kim. So yeah. So Bust a Rhyme featuring Eminem.
Many things to say about this.
Okay. Positive things?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is Slim Shady LP Eminem, right? Yeah. So he had dropped it in February of this year. This is Eminem. He's on the rise. He's the great white hope. Niggas are ducking this fight. Yeah. Like people do not want to rap next to this guy because he's with the shits. Yeah. But Missy is not ducking the smoke at all. And I think, not only is Missy not ducking the smoke, like you said, she basically gives him his own song.
She gives him his
Why
own
don't
song.
you bust a rhyme for me, Slim Shady? Now I'm gonna get the fuck out the way and let you rap. And then he raps. Yeah. Side note, and I actually wrote this down. I don't want to belabor the point, but I find it interesting that he says, "There's 3 things I hate: girls, women, and bitches." Right? and it's really on brand for Eminem.
Yeah, especially at that time, yeah.
But like, was he the first incel rapper?
Oh, yeah.
Like, was he the first rapper that like hated women and like it was clear and obvious that he hates them?
I thought that was like a talking point from like a few years ago.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on the Marshall
Not
Mathers
even just
episode.
us. I thought that was something in the general that
I
like,
didn't know
Eminem
that.
was an incel.
I thought we were being revolutionary and tongue in cheek by saying that.
Babe, I don't know. I feel like that sounds like an argument I've heard before.
But isn't it interesting that Missy on this feminist album
that's what I'm trying,
has this incel guy who's talking about how he hates girls, women, and bitches? That's really interesting to me.
Yo, that was one of the things that's confusing about the tone. It's just that like, all right, you're talking about this, and yet you have, you have Eminem on here. You have Redman's
I don't think Eminem at the time was seen as somebody who hated women yet.
Fine. Maybe okay. You know what? That's fair. But for an album, it was celebrating a lot of dudes in this album. I felt like.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Maybe, but she celebrated a lot of women too.
She did.
But yeah, I feel like on this verse, he kind of said the silent part out loud. Like he's like, "Yo, I hate women." It's like, whoa, bro. Like nobody even asked you. So that's wild. But okay, back to the praise. I absolutely love the last verse.
His last verse or hers?
Both.
Yeah.
But his last verse
is insane.
I'm homicidal and suicidal
with no friends, holding the gun with no handle, just a barrel at both ends. Spraying text at you until you see your fucking legs with the bullet holes in the exit wounds laying next to you. Fucking mad dog, foaming at the mouth. Fuck mouth, my whole house is foaming at the couch. Jumped out of the 93rd floor of a building and shot every window out on the way down to the ground. Woke up to a hospital staff, got up and laughed, chopped them in half, suffocated the oxygen mask. Shit, if I get any higher, I'ma get the east and west beefing again. Fly back to Detroit and stand in the crossfire.
Like what? Like bodied it.
The part where it says like fell out the building yelling, keep moving.
That's like,
yeah, to me,
chopped him in half, got up and laughed. Suffocated an oxygen mask. Like, yo, he bodied this shit.
So I've spoken before about how, like, if you're going to just, like, spit rhymes for spitting rhymes' sake, right? Like, don't give me a song. Just give me a dope bar over, like, a quick, like, 16-bar loop or whatever, 24-bar loop. Right. And just like go on to the next one. Like, don't try to give me songs, right?
Right.
And so like this is the Eminem that I love. This is the Eminem that's on like the Sway and Tech Eminem, right? This place is my house. I might as well erase my face with white out because y'all can't see me like Mace's eyebrow. Climbed out of a nice house through the front window and heard this guy shout, "Hey, that's my couch!" Right? Like. And this one, he says like, fuck foaming at the, he said, fuck my mouth, my house is foaming at the couch.
Yeah.
Like, that's the Eminem that I'm here for. It's the Eminem that's the same on Sound Bombing. Because any man, it's that Eminem that I love. And the fact that like, it's not a whole album of that with like songs trying to be songs in between. It's just bars. Like, I'm here for it. This is definitely a highlight. For sure.
But I mean, what I love about it is like, because I actually don't think that Eminem's first 2 verses are amazing for Eminem, but they're fine.
They're fine, yeah.
And then the beat changes in the way that only Timbaland was doing at this time.
Yeah.
And then he just comes back with this crazy verse.
Yeah.
And then Missy raps too. And it's like, okay.
I actually wasn't feeling her. I liked her hook on this. There were parts about her, like when she gets into like the little kid voice.
Yeah,
and
it's
she's raining.
I agree.
I
was
like that part, but
I think that you did nothing off this time. I mean, it's just Missy. That's her shit.
Well, but then she gets I'm about to do shit. And that's the Missy that I want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was kind of like, for me, it was like an uneven performance from her, but nevertheless, like this song is still a highlight for me.
Right.
Eminem, I think, ultimately kills this shit.
Yes.
And like the choice to give him 2.5 verses is great.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on it?
Nah, this is a really good Eminem beat. In fact, so much so that like it made me wonder. I was like, wow, could Eminem and Timbaland have done an album?
I wonder, or at least like an EP. Because you're right, it sounds quirky like Eminem, but at the same time, it still hits.
Yeah,
I agree.
So next one we have All of My Girl, and is this a highlight for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a run for me.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love this song.
Yeah, this is definitely a highlight for me.
And I've spoken on, loving, violins and orchestral instrumentation. So the production on this is lush. Missy and Nicole Ray sound amazing on this shit.
Nicole Ray is so sexy.
Their voices are great.
Yeah, the video, absolutely. Nicole Ray.
I don't even remember the video.
I remember the video. She had that like mocha brown with the puckery lip gloss.
Yeah.
Why you all in? Why? Yo.
Yeah, you killed this shit.
This song was amazing. I remember when this came out, like I was in an art class and like the guy who sat next to me, he was just like, why you all in my girl? Because we just love this song. It was so good.
It's so good. I love Nicole Ray. I love her voice.
Yeah.
And of course at this time, Outkast was my favorite group.
Yeah.
So the Big Boy verse at the end, you don't even need it because the song is so great.
I don't mind it, but
I don't mind it. Yeah.
It's an unnecessary contribution. It's just like, all right, if you want to throw it on there, cool. I'll take it.
Right. I thought it was funny that he said, "I will jam thee and slam thee and Bobby Boucher your ass, G." Yeah. Because The Water Boy was like a big movie back then.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's where that's from.
Yeah, Bobby Boucher.
Right.
Yeah, that's
okay.
funny.
But definitely a highlight for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
For sure.
Dangerous Mouse featuring Redman.
Highlight.
If it were not for the beat, it'd be a highlight for me.
This is Missy's best verse on the album, correct?
I haven't thought about that.
It's the M.I., the S.Y. If you try, then you'll die. I don't take no mercy on you suckers. So would you still be in love, baby? If I cut your throat, cut the jokes. I ain't got she bodied that shit. What?
So it's not a low light for me. It's not a low light for me. I think maybe I should address this if I decide to make it a classic in my vision. Okay. We can do that at the end, but it's not a highlight for me for reasons. But why don't you continue talking about the song?
I think this shit is great. I think that this is Missy's best rapping on here. I think that Redman kills the shit.
He does.
I think that Redman comes to the fight and Missy comes to the fight too. Like she cleared out for Eminem. Yeah. She did not clear out for Redman. Yeah. And they trade verses in the second verse. But I think Redman ripped it, and I think
Redman killed everything in this time frame.
Yes, he sure did. But I think the whole theme that Missy was trying to go for with this whole Matrix futuristic thing, to me, this is the beat that actually fits it the most. With the dun 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 dun. It sounds like a horror movie, like a futuristic horror movie or something like that. And then Missy is just like the way she rode it was perfect for what it was.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you felt differently.
Well, I'll talk about this when I make it a classic. I think in the context of the album, like I said, if we're talking about runs, it's just like, I don't know. I just there's changes I would have made to this beat.
Yeah.
So that's it though. Yeah. But then we get into Hot Boyz.
Yeah.
And I highlighted that this is a highlight for me, but the only thing I put in my notes was the remix though.
Yeah, exactly. So this ends my run, but like I said, even this time around, I couldn't listen to it because I need the remix.
I Love the remix, actually. And it's so weird, too, because I remember when it came out, I was like, well, if it's Hot Boyz, why aren't there any Hot Boyz on the song? And not only that, but there were no Hot Boyz on the remix either.
And it was weird because they have the Hot Boyz on the album, but they're not on the song.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I was like, why?
But in retrospect, I don't care because the remix is fire.
It is.
But I also think the original is fire too.
Yeah, you know it is. I mean? And I mean, I love Lil Mo. And this is the introduction of Lil Mo here. Her voice is stacked on this.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, I love it. I love the vocals. I love the beat. I love everything about it.
Yeah. And it was so weird too because I remember like at the time the song came out, I was actually initially resistant to it because I hated Cash Money. Okay. Like I respected Juvenile, but like the rest of them, I fucking like BG and Birdman and Manny Fresh and Lil Wayne. Like I thought they all sounded garbage.
So we already know how you're gonna feel about it. You Can't Resist.
Oh no, I love that shit.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm talking about at the time.
Okay.
At the time, right? Like, because I didn't listen to this album back then.
Okay.
Right. But at the time, I was initially resistant to Hot Boyz because I hated the Hot Boyz so much.
Gotcha.
But the song was so good and the beat hit so hard and Q-Tip and Nas on that remix were so dope that I was like, man, this just kind of fucking fire, dog. Like
one of the things that I will say that started to grate on me, and it started right around on this album, is like the what I'll call like the 90s, early 2000s era theme, Battle of the Sexes theme.
Yeah.
So like the nigga, if you ain't buying my shit, if you ain't paying bills, fuck you. Or I love those boys that got all this money and they got these cars. I just like the materialistic themes and shit are annoying.
It works on here though.
This song is cool, but then, and we'll talk about it when we start to get to some of the other songs later in the track listing, it starts to grate on me personally.
I love it on here though because it's just like there's kind of like an innocence to her about it. It's just like, hey, you're a hot boy. Like I want to ride in your car. I want to oh, you got all this stuff. I love it. Like I'm here for it. Like I'm soaking it all up.
But then it's like, I'm a bitch. I got all my own shit. I got money. Fuck y'all.
That's in the rest of the album though, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yep, not on this song though. On this song, I love it. I'm here for all of it. Like I think it's great.
Yeah.
So, but now we get into You Don't Know featuring Lil Mo. Yeah, this was a low light for me.
Okay.
I think it was kind of like it's an energy kill after the Hot Boyz.
Okay.
And I think that had this came out before The Boy Is Mine, I think I would have been cool with it. But like it's so aggressive. Like these two girls are actually like looking like they're ready to fight, right? Which is fine. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, like I'm not here to mansplain and tell you can't do that shit, right? Yeah. But it's also still just like, I don't know. I think for me it was just like an energy kill.
Yeah,
and the song, it's not like the song itself was musically amazing.
I agree. I think musically it wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
I think that it kind of attempted to do some like, I don't know, girl going against girl type of shit.
Yeah.
But like you said, like I didn't even think about the timing that The Boy Is Mine was already out. So it's like
I had to look that up.
We don't even really need this, like, you know. And so I mean, these types of songs never really did it for me. The Boy Is Mine is so musically amazing with what Dark Child was doing.
It's iconic, the video, Brandy Monica, Mekhi Phifer.
All that. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't need this song. It didn't do anything for me.
The only thing I thought was funny about it was, I remember this was when I was in, this is back when I used to blog. I'm not sure if you ever read my blog. It was all right. But I had this one thing, there's like a funny piece where I said like, men call dibs, women call claims. Okay. And it was basically the premise was like the dude will call dibs on a girl, so he gets the first crack, and if it doesn't succeed, then like whatever, his boy can come holler, it's all good. Whereas like a woman will call claims on a dude, and even if he's not feeling her, none of her other girls can entertain his advances, even years after the fact. And it was kind of tongue in cheek, but at the time, like I wrote this back when I was like, I don't know, like 27, right? So this is a very 20-year-old's like mentality,
right?
But it was true though. Like I there were true examples of what I was saying, where I was like, I knew women who was like, no, like I like him, I know he'll never holler at me, but you can never talk to him, even though I never have a chance with him. But this, when she said what she said about like, oh, dudes will have sex with the same chick and just laugh it off, but like you better not have not have sex with this dude, because if you do, I'm gonna come and kill you and smash your windows and all this other stuff. Like something about it was just I kind of just chuckled when I heard it.
I chuckled when she said that at the beginning of the
Yeah,
song.
at the beginning.
But then the whole song, she's still doing what she's saying is wrong. I didn't understand what she was trying to get across here.
And that comes back to what I was talking about in terms of like the theming. I'm like, it's kind of all over the place. Like it approaches it. It's hard for me to really nail it on and say like, well, this is what Missy Elliott is saying about feminism or about womanhood or about whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't have to say anything about it at all. But like, this is a song that when you listen to it, you can't help but think that. And then when the context of the album, there's a lot of songs that are really kind of hitting hard. So you're like, well, what is it that you're saying? I'm confused.
Interesting.
So, but this was a low light for me for that reason.
Okay.
Musically, it's kind of like a buzzkill, and then the subject matter wise, it's just a little like, is this necessary? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but then we get into Mr. DJ, and I'm assuming this is a highlight for you. Lady Saw? It's not? Okay. It's not a highlight for me.
Okay.
I think that I would actually like this song more though if some of the other songs that I like were either adjusted or like removed from the album. Because again, this is another one that kind of like has that same energy of songs that are kind of like.
I would have put this at the end. And the one thing I said about this was one of the things that I always admired about Timbaland and the Neptunes is that they would create kind of their own takes on like an island vibe.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they did records with like Beanie Man. And,
yeah.
You know, artists. And these songs would like fit seamlessly on their albums.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like they were like trying to like do anything that was crazy outside of their wheelhouse or anything like that. And they just let the artists come and just do them, and they just did them. And so I thought it was a cool idea to feature Lady Saw, because Lady Saw is such a, you know, she was like a pioneer, you know, kind of in the dance hall space in this time frame. So I thought it was dope to have her on there with the whole feminism angle and like and having female collaborators and stuff like that.
Yeah. So now we get into the interlude "Checking for You" featuring Lil Kim. And this is a low light for me.
I said, I don't get the need for any of this Lil Kim part. And I said, and the rhyme sung part doesn't add enough for me that this matters.
The sad thing is, I actually think Missy Elliott is dope on this interlude, right? Like it's I thought it was great, but Lil Kim, like, she's really over the top. She's really aggressive.
It's
she
two
sounds
types
drunk.
of bitches that so I'm like, what are you saying?
And then I think the other thing too is when she shouts out like all like these are clearly shots at Foxy Brown, right?
Oh, I didn't even think about
well,
it.
Who
like
else
that.
would they be? Because the two women who were battling in terms of the MC in that space were obviously is it Foxy or Kim, right? Which is ironic because if we're talking lyrically, Lauryn Hill bodies both of y'all in her sleep, right? Especially around this time, she bodies both of y'all, right?
Yeah, she wasn't doing the materialistic raps like they were.
Right. But then like the thing too is that like, all right, Mary is the queen of hip hop soul, so she's obviously like on that GOAT level status, no doubt. But it was like she's bigging up all the women who in my mind, I don't know. I don't want to take shots at Lil Kim. I don't want it to sound a little disrespectful to Lil Kim because I do think she was I think she made great contributions to hip hop, right? But it's just like there's something about this track. It's just I don't know how this would have landed back then. How did this land back then at the time?
I skipped it.
You skipped it. Okay.
For me, I mean, these songs never got played.
Okay. Just because now I listen to it, I'm like, this song. If this was an interlude that people liked back then, there's no way this interlude has aged well. Is all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I had the shit on CD, so this was getting skipped.
Got you. All right, so now we get to Stickin' Chickens featuring Aaliyah and the Brat.
So I feel like back in the day when this came out, because of the subject matter, it just didn't resonate with me, and I just didn't listen to it. But I actually think this song is okay. I like that it has a very debasement sound. You know, basement. That was the original group. That was Genuine, Missy, the Jodeci people were in it. Okay. You know, all of the folks that were in Dalvin's basement or whatever. But it has like a very like them like type of sound. The subject matter starts to grate on me though. That battle of the sexes 90s. Oh, you gonna stick them chickens? But I do like the
This is a highlight for me.
Okay, why?
Because I it's because of that. Like musically, all right. So this is another one of the songs that kind of sounds like that 5 or 6 songs that are just kind of like, all right, if you took all the hot songs away from this album and you just had like an EP of these 6 songs, like no one would listen to it, right?
That's fair.
And so because of that, like that's like filler working against each other.
But this is one of the fillers that work, right?
I think it works because musically is good. I think Aaliyah is on here, which I just missed Aaliyah.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
the Brad is on here, and I think she shines. And
I
I'm
love
like,
the Brad.
you can have a song where with the subject matter sticking chickens. I think the problem is that 2 tracks later you have We Did It, which is essentially the same thing.
Right.
But like if you got rid of that one and you kept this one, like this is cool.
I agree.
This is cool. Yeah,
Yep.
this is a highlight for me.
Yeah.
So next one.
One thing I do want to say though, like there's a whole lot of this nigga ain't shit, he cheating on me songs on here, and I'm like, I hope this isn't really Missy's life. Like I hope she didn't go through these things in real life and she's just drawing on other people's experiences.
Which okay, so you have Sticking Chickens, and then you have We Did It. Which other ones?
I feel like there's more.
Cause All of My Grill doesn't really count.
All of My Girls won.
But that's such a dope song that doesn't.
But
really
it's still
count.
it's still the same subject matter.
Yeah, but that's not that.
I'm
it's
like
not as pronounced as
half
the
of
other
the
ones.
half, if not more than half of the songs that are about men are about why is this nigga cheating on me? Fuck this nigga.
Well,
blah,
you
blah,
also
blah,
had
blah.
Checking For You though. So when she comes on Checking For You, it's like I came to his door and I did this and I did all this freaky shit.
Okay.
You know?
I guess.
You also have Crazy Feelings. Although wait, she gets her heart broken in Crazy Feelings. Oh, she does. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
What
can you do?
Anyway, I as a human hope that she as a human did
That's
not
fair.
have all these terrible experiences. If so, Missy, I'm sorry. We love you. I hope
Missy's great.
that you're having great, relationship experiences now.
Smooth Chick.
The one thing I wrote here was this almost sounds like the beat that turned into You Owe Me by Nas.
Interesting. Yeah. So for me, it's a highlight for one reason only. I think the song gets really repetitive.
I'm a smooth chick. I'm a cool chick. I'm a smooth chick.
As it progresses, you're like, all right, it for all of the songs that have a varied structure, this one needs it.
Yeah.
But what I will say, the reason why it's a highlight for it is that I think that this beat, the template for this beat, set up the template for a lot of beats that came afterwards.
Yeah,
like,
I think this is You Owe Me.
You Owe Me, even like Lick Shots.
Okay. Yeah.
Time to, or even like some of the stuff that like Timbaland did with like the joint like he did with CeeLo with like the horns.
Oh,
and
I'll
stuff.
be
like,
around.
You know what I mean? Like there's like elements of the, like with the horns, like the way he digitizes and manipulates the horns.
Even maybe Dirt Off Your Shoulder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of reminds you of like, oh, this is like a step into like post So Addictive Timbaland.
But all of those songs are better than this song.
That's probably no.
Yeah.
I recognize that.
Yeah.
I recognize that. I just wanted to. Maybe the song is not a highlight. I just wanted to highlight that aspect of it.
Okay.
Like, that's
Yeah,
just
that's
something. That's something that I appreciated about this song.
Yeah.
So then we get into We Did It, and we kind of spoke about this one a little bit.
So this is a low light for you, right?
It's not a low light because I actually think Missy sounds good on here.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, it's just like.
Yeah, it's a mel light for me. I said I'm really cool on the heavy breathing at the beginning, and the subject matter is very old for me now. And I said the beat is just okay.
Yeah, I think she sounds good on here, but it's not a highlight. It's not a low light though.
Yeah,
it's okay. I think that perhaps had it been sequenced differently and it was spaced out from Sticking Chickens.
Yeah.
This song I might have felt more positively about it, but
Maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So now you have my next low light. Throw Your Hands Up, interlude, Lil Kim.
It's crazy because I said I didn't have any lowlights, but if I have a low light, this is the one. This is really unnecessary to me. Both Lil Kim, who sounds bad, and then Missy's refrain. I don't even like that. The beat sounds bad. Like all of it is bad to me.
I guess the counter would be, well, how do we feel about MCs, dudes who justify like, well, this is why I'm saying nigga, like suck a nigga. Or whatever, right?
For me, it's not the theming or the subject. It sounds bad musically
does sound
to me.
bad.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't
bad.
care what she's saying. I mean, I'm cool if she's a bitch.
Yeah. Oh well, true.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about She's a Bitch, right?
Hey.
The highlight of highlights. This song, this might is quite possible that this is my favorite Missy Elliott song. It's quite possible.
Oh man, it's definitely up there. I love this joint. I love this song.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that it is because if I had to take every single Missy Elliott song off the earth, this is the last one that I would keep. like this is the last one that I would.
Yeah.
This is the one that would make the cut.
Right.
I can't say enough positive things about this song.
I love
musically. It was a game changer. I remember when the video came out, I literally walked up to the TV and I was just transfixed at everything I was hearing, at the imagery, the video. She shaved her head.
Yeah.
She had it was black and white. She had the like the way the light contrasted with like the white shine, like the way everything like hit like the reflection of her skin off her lips, like everything it was like in the water. There was Missy Elliott was like coming out of the ocean. Oh my God, this is just like a piece of art.
Yeah, for sure.
Holy shit, this song was I almost bought this album, and this is not like an artist that I was gonna like go out and buy. I almost did because this song was fucking spectacular. Yeah, it's still amazing.
Well, I did buy it, so I feel you. I agree.
Oh my God, I can't say enough positive things about this
song.
I almost asked you to play the song at my wedding because I love this song so much.
Well, actually, that might.
It's not gonna work. It's not a wedding song.
And then everybody would have been like, "Wait, her husband asked you to play She's a Bitch."
You know me. You know I wasn't gonna do it, but I was like, man. But like, let's say he just randomly played it, I would have been like, yo. I mean, this song goes. I don't know what else to tell you.
But I wrote 4 words.
Go ahead.
This song is immaculate.
Yeah. It's a perfect song.
This is a perfect song. It's great.
Yeah, and then
the video is even better. Yeah. Timbaland at his best, Missy at her best beat, best everything is perfect. That's just fire.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah, and then she comes back in.
Song is crazy. All right. Then we have You Can't Resist.
So this is not a highlight for me. Okay. What I said was I actually really like this beat, and I really like Missy's flow on this.
Yeah.
And I just felt like the Hot Boyz didn't really bring it here.
That, you know what? That's fair.
I said if she had gone to someone like from the Midwest, like a Twista, or even a Jay-Z, they would have known what to do, like from a double time flow, like what we call chopping. They would have done something like that, and it would have sounded better to me.
I wonder even if like maybe like a Ball and G or even like a UGK.
Yeah,
maybe.
Because
I think you're right. I do think that BG in particular, like I've never been a big fan of BG, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that he has not contributed things, right? But Juvenile didn't really deliver either.
Yeah, they both sounded like either one, they were intimidated by the beat and didn't know how to approach it, or two, they didn't take Missy seriously enough to give her like a top quality performance.
I think nevertheless, this is still a highlight for me just because like this is one of the filler tracks that kind of excites me.
Okay.
Because I think she sounds great on it. I think it's a good beat.
She does.
It's got that like Southern vibe to it. And I was like, oh, I have Juvenile and BG on here. And I wasn't even really thinking about what they were saying. I was just like, hey, I had Juvie and BG on here. Gotcha. Like, this is dope.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. They probably didn't deliver.
Yeah.
It's not a standout performance for sure.
Nah, not at all.
So now we have Crazy Feelings. How do you feel about this one?
So this is where the album starts to lag for me. Like,
really?
like I don't love or hate this song. I love the concept of the fact that it exists more than I love it.
Okay.
I love that Missy has a young Beyonce who hasn't gone solo yet. Before The Writings on the Wall, which is their big breakout album, and has her on the album by herself. Like I think that's great and amazing. But the song doesn't do much for me personally.
This is a highlight for me.
Okay, why?
Well, for one, it reminds me of that song that We Like to Party. Like vocally, like the way they filter the voice. I may be young, but I'm ready. That crazy feeling, like it kind of has like that same kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
It also reminds me of a bunch of like Beyonce songs like that came later, like.
But you don't even like Beyonce.
I know, but it's a highlight because. But I love that song though.
It reminds you of Beyonce songs, but you don't like Beyonce.
I love We Like to Party though.
Okay.
Yeah, that song is one of my favorite Beyonce songs.
Okay.
Right. The other thing too is that like this was the one I think that Beyonce outshined Missy on here. I was so surprised.
Okay.
Like I don't like when Missy comes in. I'm not really feeling it, and when Beyonce comes in, I'm like, look, I don't even really like Beyonce's voice all that much, but I think she does a better job on here than Missy.
Okay.
And I think the fact that like the hook, because it gave me such like We Like to Party vibes on it sonically, right? This to me was a good cap to the album.
Okay.
Right. So this is a highlight for me.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of recap real quick, if I were to make this a classic, I would completely get rid of Beat Fighters. I'm not sure what I would start it with. I might even, you know what? I might just start it with She's a Bitch. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? I might just start it right off.
But it's tough. You would have to then create a better song because you can't have the best song be the first song because then the rest of the album becomes a disappointment.
Maybe. I think that for me, the Busta Rhyme is good. I think I might have just tried to tweak part of her vocal a little bit because like the part where she's kind of like a little kid, like screaming, whatever. Like I didn't really like that part.
Yeah.
Dangerous Minds. I think that when you have Redman on here killing it and Missy on here killing it, you have Funk Dr. Spot. Timbaland can make a funky beat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And instead, he gave me a beat that sounded too much like the other filler tracks. So for me, the highlight filler tracks for me, not highlight, but like the main filler tracks for me on this album, are Beat Fighters, Dangerous Mind, You Don't Know, Mr. DJ, Stickin' Chickens, We Did It, and I guess that's kind of it.
Smooth
right?
Chick isn't a filler song to you?
Stickin' Chickens? Smooth. Oh, did I say Smooth Chick?
You didn't.
I don't, because it doesn't sound like those other ones.
Oh, you're saying they sound sonically
They all kind of
similar.
sonically kind of give me the same kind of vibe.
Okay.
And because of that, I'm like, especially with Beat Fighters on there, it's like I don't want to listen to Dangerous Minds and be reminded of a song that I heard earlier. So I think that if you got rid of Beat Fighters and then Dangerous Minds, you switched up that beat, and then I probably would have gotten
that joint.
Which one? The beat
Dangerous
on it?
Mouths. Yeah, you
couldn't
get rid of that for me because it's to me it's the most year 3000 blah 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 futuristic that and She's a Bitch to me are the ones that hit the theme sonically the most out of all the ones.
Right. Well, nevertheless though, You Don't Know is probably a song that we don't need. I think that Mr. GJ probably would have needed to have been sequenced differently because I do think that ultimately it's a good song. And I think that I would have gotten rid of We Did It. And Smooth Chick, I would have expanded on the beat and given me a different song structure and really kind of leaned into those elements. Maybe thought it was too much of a risk.
Yeah.
After that though, and then I would have gotten rid of those Lil Kim sketches. But after that, this album to me is really dope. And I think the things that I didn't like about it is because there was too much kind of monotony in some of the songs that I didn't like. And so because it's like, because there's so many of them, I'm like, all right, this is kind of like grating on me a little bit. And so if you got rid of a few, those other ones probably would not have stood out as much. And I just would have been, it just would have been a better overall experience for me. So that's my quick make it a classic.
If I have to do a quick one, I would make some of the same changes as you. I'd remove some of those songs, particularly like Beat Biters and a lot of the ones towards the end. But I think that the small kind of tweaks that I would do was I would go back to the home base a little bit more. So give me some Genuine.
Yeah, no Genuine.
Give me a little bit of more Aaliyah. Give me Mocha and Nicole
Mocha.
Ray and the core folks, a little bit more of them. Nicole Ray's all over this. I like Lil Mo. So I think maybe I would make it a little bit more a crew album and a little bit less a Missy album.
Okay.
And I think that would help to fill out some more of this.
Interesting.
Because she has so many features that are outside of the crew already that she can use the crew to fill more space.
I see what you're saying.
That makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not how I would have approached it because I like the way that the features are on here. Obviously with the exception of Kim. But I could see how that would work too.
Yeah, I would just maybe add, let's say 3 to 4 more songs.
Yeah.
And some of them have some appearances from Genuine and maybe Timbaland and Magoo, even though we don't love them as vocal performers, and just the crew, the core crew that kind of makes it a them thing.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, nevertheless, I do think this is a really good album.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the reasons why I was being, I guess, critical of it is just because I do enjoy those other 2 albums more than this.
Okay.
Even though it probably has my favorite Missy song on here, which She's a Bitch. There's not a bad word you will ever hear me say about this song. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
I also love All of My Girl, and I do like Hot Boyz too.
I love All of My Girls.
It's so good. They're so good. But I think the thing for me though, like I said, if I took out the 3 best songs from this, and then I took out the 3 best songs
from
of the other
projects.
ones, or even like the 4 or the 5 best songs from those other albums, I think I would still enjoy those albums more than this one.
Okay.
Right. So
maybe.
Yeah, but that's also goes to show how strong those other albums are.
Yeah.
The only reason why we haven't really done tributes for them is because these are all projects that I listen to after the fact. I mean, the one that I was most that I was there for real, was So Addictive. Because I did listen to that album at the time. I just didn't buy it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But the singles were all over the place and people were playing the album as well. So I heard that one.
Oh, yeah.
So we could potentially talk about that one if we were to do this. I do have a Where Were You for that, whereas I don't really have one for Super Duper Fly. Okay. But I think Super Duper Fly is incredible.
Oh my gosh. I will never forget where I was the first time I heard the rain.
I remember where I was too.
So I mean, for sure. I would say we exactly. I would say, we said we wanted to do more music from the South. And we said we wanted to do more music that included, women as main characters.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this, doing a Missy album allowed us to kind of check both of those boxes at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad we had an opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah. So so if you're wondering why we did this one versus the other two, we explained that. If you think this is the best one, let us know.
Yeah.
If
let's get folks who are watching this or hear this that's posted, rank those first 3 Missy albums for us. Tell us which one you think is first, second, and third, and that's between Super Duper Fly, The Real World, and Miss E, So Addictive. Yeah. So let us know in the comments which ones you think are number 1 through 3. Yeah. And we'll see how folks kind of rate that.
Yeah. I think that should wrap it up. You have anything else?
Nope.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
To the MI, cat like a semi. Nigga stole my car, won't you get mine? Give your ass a black eye. Oh, say bye-bye. I'ma get your body to the sky. Run through your clip. Nigga, you pissed, don't trip. I'ma have to bust you in your lips. And the whips, better have a whole lot of chips. Cause I ain't for no nigga giving tips. She's a bitch. When you say my name, talk more jump, but won't look my way. She's a bitch. See, I got more cheese. So back on up while I roll up my sleeve. She's a bitch. You can't see me, Joe. Get on down while I shoot my flow. She's a bitch. When I do my thing, got the place on fire, burn it down the flame. Roll up in my car, don't stop, won't stop. I'ma keep it rocking till the clock don't top. I'ma keep it hot, let my ass on fire. I'ma grab a Philly, go and roll it at the bar. What you talk, what you say, huh? Gotta flow, gotta move it slow, huh? Better you running out the door, huh?